This is episode 338 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Oh, I'm fired up, man. This is a red hot podcast. Flaming hot.
Flaming hot because there is no AC or cooling of any kind in the cabin in the mountains?
Not off grid, no. It turns out that takes a lot of energy. So, we'll see how many buckets of sweat that I pour out in 2 hours as I get heated over such topics as we drafted or signed a murderer at some point. So that was cool.
Alleged murderer.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Alleged, sure. And that we're apparently the weakest roster in the NFC West. That's pretty neat. I heard that. Some hot takes on some crap teams that people think are good.
Yes, the topic of the show today, the most overrated NFL teams going into the 2021 season. And man, this is something I can't wait to hear from you about, because I know you love to call out those teams that are being just, put up on a pedestal and talked about like they're guaranteed to make the championship game.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing more fun than the offseason Super Bowl winner, because there's always at least one. But this year there feels like there's a couple that people are pretty psyched about that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I'll be interested to see if our lists overlap at all.
I don't know why you would be hot and bothered, though, over Tamorrion Terry being signed by the Seahawks. He was merely a placeholder on the roster until Josh Gordon put in for his reinstatement. As soon as Terry was about to be indicted, that's when Josh Gordon had his reinstatement announcement. And so I don't even think the Seahawks even had the indictment thing on their radar. They just were having Terry there until Gordon could be available.
Well, the cool thing is that they could have done that with, like, say, I don't know, somebody who was non-murdery, like me. They could have signed me, fulfilling a dream, to be that placeholder until Josh Gordon comes back for the 47th time to be suspended again in 3 weeks or so? Is that the over/under?
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did get our answer on why now Terry went undrafted, because that was the one thing that stood out to us, right? Is looking at the tape after seeing that he was an undrafted free agent, and you're saying, this guy has a lot of talent, but yet he went undrafted. Now we have our answer.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a talent for pulling a trigger too. So there's that.
And we don't know everything that's going on here.
I'm just telling you what the article said.
Yeah, it was, and it was a group of guys. So who knows if it? I'm wishing the dude the best. I'm hopeful that he didn't do it. That it's bogus charges. A lot like with our cornerback from last year. Did it take place in Florida? There's a good lawyer that Dunbar can point him to down in Florida.
I think the lesson to all of this is don't be in Florida.
It's probably works out for most people.
Yeah, for sure. It's better for my deal. I haven't been indicted for anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's largely because I've spent very little time in Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
One thing that I know I am unhappy with, and maybe getting hot and bothered by, is that I have not yet seen an announcement by the Seahawks announcing throwback uniforms in 2022 or 23, whenever the soonest is possible. It needs to be announced sooner than later. And I'm kind of upset that they haven't announced it already.
Well, it's coming for sure, right? I mean, they're going to do it. And so maybe they're just taking some extra time to make sure that they're, I don't know, extra dope. Like, maybe that's what it is.
Look, we already know, Adam, what they're going to look like because we've had mock-up after mock-up released. Pick one of the mock-ups and just say that this is happening as soon as possible, and I'm going to be happy. Because the NFL, at least they put out the statement from the NFL safety team or whatever it is, the head of football operations, saying that they can now have more than one helmet per team, and that it can be a color rush helmet, it can be a throwback helmet. They've now decided that players are allowed to wear more than one helmet in a season.
The impossible has occurred. I thought I'd never see this in my lifetime. I mean, whoever solved this problem of being able to have more than one helmet design for your NFL football team, they can solve the most impossible problems on the planet. Put them on peace in the Middle East, eliminating poverty, whatever it is. Like, just get these people on it, because holy cow, I don't know how they managed.
This is the domino on the slippery slope that makes all of the other things like world peace possible.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Absolutely.
is good.
I mean, Oregon figured out how to have 17 helmets in a season while playing 11 games or however many they play. Yeah, the NFL finally catching up and being like, well, one extra.
When you mentioned Oregon, for whatever reason, I was drawn to the fact that Oregon was now allowing people to pump their own gas because it was so dang hot outside. Like, that was the domino that flipped. That it's just too hot out to have somebody out here to pump other people's gas. So now you can get out of your own car and pump your own gas in Oregon.
There's also another loophole to that. And if you're in a county that has, I don't know how many people per square mile in that county, so there's a threshold.
Like if you're out east in Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. So there's like this one Love's truck stop, like by, what's it by? It's kind of sort of by Hermiston, sort of, but it's out that way. And that is definitely on my radar. That is one of my stops, because I can get out of the car and pump my own damn gas instead of having an argument about how I'm qualified to pump my tank full of gas with somebody for the 5,000th time in the state of Oregon, because I'm tired of waiting around for them to get to me. And it's not that they're not hustling or anything like that. It's just that they have one attendant for like 15 pumps.
Yeah.
And it's not really their fault. But, guess what? Maybe I'll give you a hand, pump my own gas. I'm capable. It turns out. Been doing it like half my adult life.
Yeah. And it just turns out when it gets above 100 degrees, that's when it's safe for people to pump their own gas for some reason.
Or less than 115 people in a square mile.
There you go. Those are the thresholds.
Yeah.
Figured that out. Speaking of math and capacity for things, the Seahawks are going to have full capacity at Lumen Field in 2021.
100%. Yes. And while not surprising, great to hear. I mean, obviously the vaccination stuff has helped a lot with that. And I'm a fan. So hooray. Can't wait to go to the Titans game, man.
We are going, and we'll have ticket. I got to put out the message of people to get your tickets. So if you are a member of the flock, you're going to find out first. And so expect that probably here this week. And yes, we will be gathering with the flock at the Titans game.
Heck yeah, man. It has been too long. And, I'm not Captain Social and all of that, but this was too long without
you're ready now.
Hanging out with the flockers, man, and going to a game. I'm itching for it.
Well, that's our Seahawks news from this past week. Past 2 weeks. See, we let 2 weeks go by, and there are still 4 kind of sort of topics to talk about. Now we're through.
There we go. Yeah.
This is June and July. This is summer, people.
That was an amazing 7 minutes of content that I think has enriched everybody's lives. There's no doubt about it. Let's trash some teams.
Let's do it. This is what people came for anyway. Going into the 2021 season, there are 2 clear favorites, it seems, that are on everybody. Well, when I was trying to think of the most overrated teams, I at least wanted to start by looking at what the betting favorites are, because that's kind of what everybody tends to go by. If you're putting your money on it, then that's what I'm going to assume are the favorites of people. We did put it out to our Ring of Honor members as to who they thought were the most overrated teams. But the 2 teams that are the clear favorites for 2021 just happen to be the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Hard to argue. I mean, really, you got to feel like every year that the Chiefs have the Mahomes, like they're in it. They still have all those weapons on offense. They might be without a defensive piece this upcoming season. We'll talk about that maybe after the break. But Chiefs, that door is still wide open. Not that there isn't competition in the AFC. I think there's definitely some other teams that will give them a run for their money this year. I think that's fine. As far as the Bucs go, really hard to argue with that. I mean, they won the chip last year, and they basically returned everybody and their dog somehow under the salary cap.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, how can you not think that they're the favorite going in?
Can you make the case, though, for either one of these teams being overrated?
No, they're both absolutely 100% in the running.
I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to take my first shot at the Chiefs. I think for them,
you want to be wrong right out of the gate. That all right, that's cool.
No, I'll tell you why. I think you brought up one of the pieces that they could be missing, but I think coming out of the gate, for them to be the top team in terms of betting favorites for 2021, have we forgotten how losers struggle to get back to the Super Bowl? It rarely happens. The Patriots did it a couple years ago, but they were the last team to do it since the early 90s when the Buffalo Bills were the dominant AFC team. So I'm concerned about that. But the other thing that I'm concerned about is, can a team on the offensive line, can it undergo this much turnover? Because everybody's saying, what a great job they did to completely overhaul the offensive line after what we saw from them in the Super Bowl. But okay, they traded for Orlando Brown for their left tackle. Brown's been playing right tackle for the Ravens. They signed Joe Thuney, a free agent, a good left guard. They drafted Creed Humphrey. Who knows if he'll get the start or if it'll be Blythe from the Rams, right? That's who they also signed as a veteran. Duvernay Tardif's coming back from his opt-out year. They also added Kyle Long at right guard, and then Mike Remmers at right tackle, he's been okay, but I look at this group and I wonder if you can assemble an offensive line of, I would say Thuney's probably the best of the bunch. Maybe you could argue Brown, but that transition from right to left, I don't necessarily know how that's going to work out for him. So this is a big question for me.
It would be the big question that you'd have with the Chiefs. There's no doubt about it, but those are all guys that can play in the league. There's no question. And when you think about the idea of where they were at when they got to the Super Bowl, I mean, if they literally had a league average guy that could have come in and been healthy in the Super Bowl, that might be a very different Super Bowl. So as long as these guys can be healthy at the end of the season, then yeah, it's an upgrade. And they obviously thought that the guys that they had, especially out of the tackle positions, just weren't going to be durable the next few years and decided to move on. And honestly, I do think Brown is the best of the bunch there, and he's great in pass protection, and he obviously has the pedigree.
Yeah, I wonder with that combined with being the Super Bowl loser, I just don't know if I would be willing to put $100 down just to win $250. That just see, and I suppose that's very different than just expecting them to be and winning $250. That's just to be the conference winner. I suppose to win the Super Bowl, $450. So they're still the Super Bowl favorite.
Sure. But in terms of, let's say, just winning the conference, right? I guess the way that I look at overrated is if I were to put that $100 down to win however amount of dollars back, if the team then won the conference championship, would I have just as much luck setting that Benjamin on fire? And there's a lot of teams that are that way for me, and the Chiefs are not one of them. I think you do better actually placing the bet than lighting the $100 bill on fire if you bet on the Chiefs.
What AFC team to you is overrated?
The Browns. If I have to hear one more time about how complete and how amazing they are and they're about ready to make a run, I mean, I might barf. I mean, give me a break. Their name is still the Cleveland Browns, is it not?
I think that we have to recognize, though, that it's not the same old Browns. Like this,
are we sure?
It's a better coach. It's their defense this year. Baker Mayfield's looking a lot better than he has in the past. He has run support. He has an offensive line.
Okay, the case that you could make for the Browns to me is that they do have a lot of talent in the backfield as far as the running game is concerned. The offensive line is very solid. The defensive line is very good. The rest of it, it's okay. I don't look at their
above
defensive
average
backfield.
Secondary, I think.
It's okay. With that defensive line, I mean, it'll look a little better. But it still all comes down to Baker. And you're telling me I'm not a Baker believer. He is so up and down. You had a rookie head coach last year that came in and seemed to turn things around in Stefanski. But then again, now you've got a whole offseason that everybody's looking at you and they know you're coming. They know what your schemes are. And, the league isn't going to get caught flat-footed. And you play in a division with the Ravens, number one, who are perennially. No, I can't ever say the word.
Perennially.
Every year they're in the mix, and like they're a good, solid franchise. And then you have the wild card that are the Steelers. I mean, they could be decent, or they could be a dumpster fire. I don't really know. I would probably bet on dumpster fire, but I think they can give the Browns a split throughout the season, right? And then the Bengals are going to be improved. So I don't think they're going to win that division.
In terms of betting favorites, it is the Ravens who are the favorites to win the division. So I still like the Browns to make the playoffs, but that's going to be tough for them then if they make the playoffs for them to be ultimately conference champions or Super Bowl champions if they're having to go from being a wild card team. So I would agree that they're slightly overrated. The most overrated team to me, at least when I look at the betting odds, and I don't know if this is because of the whole Aaron Rodgers dynamic, but the number 5 team to win the AFC is the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that has to have some sort of Aaron Rodgers effect to it.
Because for them to be ahead of the Chargers is weird. I don't see the Broncos with what they have at quarterback right now as being a team that would be listed to be better than the Colts or the Titans or even the Dolphins, let alone the Chargers.
I put the Colts and Titans above them. I think Dolphins and Broncos are probably about even. The Chargers are in that mix. They're still a mixed bag for me. I can't really declare if I think that they would be overrated or properly rated, the Chargers.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of unknowns there. New coaching staff. Herbert in his second year was his first year a fluke. I still have not gone back and watched a bunch of Herbert. Watched some of the highlights. He looked amazing, but I'm not sure that's who he is. Maybe he is, and that would be great for them. But they're a big unknown to me. I don't know about overrated, but you brought up the Titans, and that's my second most overrated team in the AFC to me.
They're overrated in the sense that Julio is not that one piece that puts them over the top. Their defense is going to be the biggest question mark. And this is the same thing that we talked about when Julio was rumored to be a potential player that the Seahawks could go after. Why are you not considering somebody on defense? Because that's where your main weaknesses are. And yeah, you could try and score more points, but man, I guess when you have the ground game with Henry, maybe you're just banking on running the ball and not having your defense on the field a whole bunch. But
yeah, exactly. What's supposed to excite me about the Titans defense? Like what? There's nothing. And their pass rush is terrible. And then you combine that with the idea that I think people are really high on them because they did bring in Julio, who I believe is probably closer to being 49ers Randy Moss than Patriots Randy Moss, right? And then you factor in the idea that they're going to run the hell out of the ball. And how many opportunities is Julio really going to get to make a difference on that team? Probably very few. I do like A.J. Brown a ton. I think he's a hell of a receiver.
Oh, yeah. But if you paired the Titans offense and Ryan Tannehill as quarterback with what the Browns have on defense, then you're talking about a complete team.
Absolutely. And look, I will say the one thing I'm very dubious about for the Titans this year is they've gotten 2 huge and healthy seasons out of Derrick Henry. And I'm not saying he's an injury-prone guy. He's just a running back, a physical running back.
Yeah, those guys get hurt.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that they're going to get a third straight year of that.
I mean, how many healthy seasons did the Seahawks get from Alexander after signing the big contract? It was like 1.5.
Exactly. So I just think that they're totally overrated. Now, I will say this. It wouldn't surprise me that in a relatively terrible division that they could end up with something like the 2 seed and then be their first game or first round exit. Like I think that can happen. They'll probably win that division and maybe even have a great record. But they're not getting out of the first round. They're just not doing it.
The Bills seem like the obvious 2 seed to me. Maybe even a 1 seed.
It's possible.
I feel like the Bills are properly rated. And the Ravens, good team.
Yep.
And there's just enough of a question mark with the Colts that, yeah, they're in the top 7. They may be slightly overrated. People might be slightly overrating the potential that Carson Wentz has to bounce back.
Well, I mean, that's what it all hinges on. Their roster's pretty complete, and they've just been searching for that quarterback. And, there's a chance Frank Reich brings it out at Carson Wentz again. There's also a chance that he's a totally broken QB. So that's one of those teams that I look at, and I don't know what to rate them as. Yeah, I can't say if they're over or underrated or how to rate them at all.
Do you think there's going to be any surprises? Just looking at the bottom 5 teams in terms of favorites for the conference: Raiders, Jaguars, Jets, Bengals, Texans. Any surprises?
Raiders.
I don't know. With them just blowing up their offensive line, I don't see how they can be successful.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Short of the Chiefs, the NFC West isn't AFC West isn't exactly a murderer's row of competition.
Yeah, I don't really like any of those teams. Maybe the Bengals maybe Burrow, with him coming back, they're able to put together an 8-8 season or something.
Well, I mean, they'd either
8-9.
be. Yeah, exactly. There you go. See? Yeah, I could see that. I could see them right around there. I mean, that's why I said 9-8, man. Like, I feel like there's enough pieces there. Gruden's a decent enough coach. They're going to be fired up for their first year in Vegas and actually have fans there and the whole thing, the new stadium. I don't know. They just seem to have juice.
Yeah, okay. Let's move over to the NFC. I feel like there's more fun teams to really to poop on in the NFC.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess for me, I don't know if you want to go with them first or last, but the Cards are definitely on the list for me.
Especially, I think you referenced this off the top with the CBS article this past week saying that of all of the rosters in the NFC West, that the Seahawks have the least talented roster. And how someone could rank the Cardinals as being a more talented roster than the Seahawks, I'm struggling with that one.
Well, I think whoever wrote the article likes names, right? They bring in AJ Green, which is a downgrade from Larry Fitzgerald at this point of his career.
Yeah.
They bring in JJ Watt, who's maybe a league average defensive lineman now at this stage of his career. And don't get me wrong, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt about it. Love me some JJ. But that's just not who he is anymore. Patrick Peterson's past his prime. The only two guys, I mean, really, I like Budda Baker on that roster.
Well, you said Patrick Peterson. Peterson left.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Peterson's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Chandler Jones. That's who you meant to say.
Who? Again, one of the most overrated players in the league who is a compiler. He does a good job of racking up, stats in a game or two, right? Against some of the terrible teams, but he is just not a difference maker. But again, I like Budda Baker on that team, and you can make an argument that D-Hop, a strong argument, that D-Hop is the best receiver in the league.
So there's a couple guys. But
and look, here's the other thing. Is Kyler Murray still their quarterback?
Yes.
Okay, then Captain Dink and Dunk does not make that team better, especially when he's going to be injured by week 9 and he can't run around.
Which is what happened last year.
It's going to happen every year with him. He is so unbelievably overrated. I do not get it. I just don't know what people see. They call that the Hail Murray, right? That play last year against the Bills.
Yeah.
That was the Hail Hop. Like, that was all Hopkins. And yet somehow Murray gets the credit for it.
Murray gets the credit for just putting the ball up in the air.
Hop's down there somewhere, I bet. Just heaves it down there. I'm not into the Cardinals at all. I just don't get the hype around them. In the last 2 years, they haven't even had a winning record under Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And yet now they've got at least the third best roster in the NFC West. Come on, man. They won't have a winning record this year.
But the Cardinals aren't the team that I would go to first off as the one being overrated. They're still predicted to be the number 4 team within the NFC West. So how is your first one that you think of not the San Francisco 49ers, who are the number 2 team when it comes to picking the NFC conference winner? The San Francisco 49ers, with not knowing who their quarterback's going to be, whether it's Jimmy G, Trey Lance. And if you pick one, Or even if you say, well, it'll be halfway through the season and then they'll transition. They obviously have the talent on defense, but in terms of their offense, I'm struggling with them being I can almost understand the Rams being predicted as the number one, making the upgrade to Matt Stafford this offseason. I could understand if that was the number one, but I don't understand how people can look at the Niners and put them ahead, apart from the defense.
There's absolutely a case to be made for the Niners in that case. I mean, think about it in these terms. That defense, it might be the best in the NFC West. It might be the best in the NFC with that defensive line.
Yeah.
You get Bosa coming back. If they have any sort of injury luck this year, they'll be markedly better.
The secondary is not that.
Plays.
The back four, though.
I get it. But the back four can look a lot better with a dominant pass rush. I mean, if we learned anything last year as a Seahawks fan, is that we had that argument or that conversation about what comes first, a D-line or a secondary. Does a great secondary make a great D-line?
It was definitely the D-line for the Seahawks after watching the first half of last year.
Absolutely. I think the argument is settled. So that back four, a lot of their sins can be covered up for by their defensive line. And look, we do know who their quarterback's going to be. It's going to be Jimmy G. Trey Lance has a long ways to go. And unless Jimmy G tears up his entire body again, which is possible, we're not going to see Trey Lance. And then even if that does happen, Lance gives them a fighting chance. That's better than going to Mullins, say, last year.
Sure.
So I get it. They do have a very balanced roster.
Yeah, they probably have the best offensive line too in the division, if not maybe not the conference.
Yeah, they bring Trent Williams back again.
Yeah.
And look, the Rams, they lost a crap ton on defense, including their D coordinator. They're going to take a massive step back on defense.
They still have Aaron Donald up front.
He's played on a couple bad defenses in his career.
Still got Jalen Ramsey, though. They've been doing pretty well.
Again, you got two great studs. Absolutely. No question about it. And who else? Nobody. They lost a bunch of dudes.
There's not much else.
Yeah.
What Aaron Donald's able to do, allow guys like Leonard Floyd up front to, I feel like he just makes so many other guys better up front. So they're always going to have. I still think the Rams are slightly overrated too. The Rams are probably the number one team that was brought up within our Ring of Honor of overrated teams.
Depends on how you look at it.
Well, Matt Stafford's overrated, so I think that's everybody's agreeing with me that Matt Stafford's overrated, and therefore the Rams are overrated.
Well, I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. Y'all are going to be eating some crow because Stafford is underrated. And he could have a great year this year. He's getting older, and he does have a lot of injury history. If he can pull it together injury wise for 1 year, he's such a massive upgrade over Goff. It's not even close. That their offense is going to be better by a market amount. Now their defense isn't going to be that number one defense. They might slide back to the pack and be 15-12, something like that. So it just depends on how you look at it.
I look at it that Matt Stafford's overrated, and you can't tell me anything different.
All right. Well, you get to watch it with your own two eyes this year. I mean, who else in the NFC do you look at that just seems massively overrated? Because I don't see a lot of teams that are massively overrated. Like people are like, Cowboys might be okay with Dak. Packers, they're in turmoil.
Some people brought up the Cowboys as being overrated, and I think they are the favorite to win their division, which the football team has the best defense in the division, and maybe even one of the best defenses in the conference.
They probably have the second best quarterback in that division.
Yeah. Whether it's Tannehill or Heineke, right?
No, it's the beard, dude. Fitzpatrick, dude.
I know, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, you said Tannehill. That's what confused me.
Sorry.
Yeah, you got your Ryans mixed up. No, the beard, man.
Yeah.
Did you see how he played with the Dolphins?
Oh yeah.
And this is his first year as a football teamer, so he's gonna do well this year. You know that.
Can't believe I got my Ryans mixed up.
Yeah,
I should have just said the beard.
Exactly.
It's his name
And
anyway.
Daniel Jones is going to be run out of New York this year.
This will be the year. You got Falcons, Panthers, Giants, Eagles, Lions as the bottom 5 in the NFC.
That feels right.
Maybe the Panthers able to surprise some people.
Well, it'll be interesting. The Sam Darnold thing is going to be one of those really fun things to watch this year. It's going to give us a lot of answers that I think we already know the answer to, in terms of to questions we already have been asking, as in, how bad is Adam Gase? How much do the Jets just ruin people? If Sam Darnold comes out and plays just decent football, it's going to be a revelation for them.
Yeah. Darnold could be the next Tannehill.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I used Tannehill's name correctly that time.
Yeah, I noticed. I didn't want to give you a gold star for it, though.
Are the Saints rated a little too high? They're listed as the number 6 team in the NFC.
So who's ahead of them?
Bucs, Niners, Rams, Packers, Seahawks.
Who
and
would
then
be
behind them
than...
is Cowboys, Cardinals, Vikings, Bears.
Bears might be underrated here.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think Justin Fields is going to be a revelation.
I still rate them behind the Vikings, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen enough of Zimmer and Cousins to last me 3 lifetimes. They're going to be a inconsistent, mediocre team for as long as those 2 guys are there.
Yeah, that feels about right.
I mean, they're going to have moments of wow. There's no doubt about it. But they're also going to have these duds that just come out of nowhere. They just do it all the time.
See, this is why the Cardinals are overrated, because I put them behind the Vikings, the Bears, and the football team.
Yes. And you questioned me for bringing them up first.
Yeah, there's not too many of these other teams that I could put 3 teams ahead of.
There's a lot of mediocre in the NFC this year. It's going to be a wild year.
Because the Bucs were a wild card team last year, and they kind of came out of nowhere last year, which is why I don't know if they're necessarily a lock to be the favorite as the conference winner, apart from the fact that they're bringing everybody back. But
ooh, the Bucs?
Yeah.
Dude, another year with Tom, with all those guys. I mean,
Tom has to take a step back at some point. We say this every offseason.
Well, I stopped saying it about 3 or 4 off seasons ago because I'd been saying it for about 4 or 5 off seasons before that. And, it's just wrong. And so I'm just tired of being wrong about it. I'm just going to wait for him to fall off the cliff before I'm like, and I'm going to have to see like an autopsy. Like I'm going to have to see like medical records that show that he is just legit done before I finally put a fork in Tom Brady. It won't do it. And the Bucs, they have figured out the formula of how you overcome Bruce Arians. They did it. It's amazing.
How did they do it?
I have no idea. It's still smoke and mirrors, it feels like. But Tom Brady figured it out. He's like, he was doing it Bruce's way for about half the year. And then he was like, so here's what's going to happen. I'm just kind of taking over. And you can sit in with your beanie and your 17,000 electrical devices strapped to your chest. And, do your rah-rah thing and yell at some people. And I'll take care of everything else.
That's the answer.
I guess. And the Saints, who knows what happens with the Saints, man?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Jameis is another fascinating thing this year. We'll see just how great Sean Payton is. Because if he can take Jameis Winston and corral in the terrible decisions and keep the high level of play that he does, that will be unbelievably extraordinary, because Jameis Winston has been this person his entire life.
Yeah, going back
his
to college.
Entire football life. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to be able to do it. But if he can, hats off, dude. They could be a contender.
Teddy took a step up when he was with Sean Payton. And I think we saw a little bit of that, of him dropping back to the pack, then going to Carolina.
But Teddy's step up wasn't eliminating a crap ton of bad plays, like terrible plays, like awful, god awful interceptions. Teddy, he just got him to, find those more consistent checkdowns and work within the system, right? Teddy was always a decent decision maker.
Yeah.
He just had a little better talent, a little better scheme around him, and so he shined. Now with Jameis, it's trying to rein in that Farvian gunslinger mentality that he has no justification for having. It's like reining in Jay Cutler.
You give him Kamara, though. You give him a pretty decent offensive line. You got Thomas as a receiver.
Okay. All right. Here's why that is blowing up. The year before, Jameis went to the Saints. He was on what team?
Yeah, the Bucs.
Okay, and then they did what the next year?
But that was with Arians. And Arians is all about, like, he is... If you would have ever put Favre with Arians, that would have been one of the worst coach-quarterback combinations. He did the 30-30 with Jameis with the touchdown passes and the INTs. It was because he was coached by Arians.
Okay, so the guy who throws picks and makes terrible decisions since he was in 7th grade somehow started throwing really bad picks because he was paired with Arians?
No, it's because Arians just wants to chuck the ball all over the place all the time. What is it saying? It's no risk it, no biscuit.
I got you. But you look at the difference. They get rid of Jameis and they bring in Tom and they win the chip.
Oh, yeah.
Now, say you brought in, I don't know, Cousins instead of Tom. That same roster and everything, they probably get to at least the second round of the playoffs instead of missing the playoffs like they did with Jameis.
Yeah, that's probably the difference.
Yeah.
But Jameis got LASIK now, too. So now he can see who he's throwing to.
We'll see how many W's he eats this year.
I think where they have the Saints is probably fairly accurate.
Yeah, they're going to be a very intriguing team.
Yeah.
Can you go less than 0 for 17 in a season? Is that somehow statistically possible?
Can you go negative? Who do you think?
Yeah.
Who do you think would win negative games?
The Texans.
Yeah.
I think they're winning negative games this year.
Plus 8,900 to win the conference. Plus 14,900 to win the Super Bowl.
Light that $100 bill on fire. You'll have more fun and you'll keep warm.
And if you really want to put $100 on the Texans, go to getintheflock.com, put $100 down.
There you go.
I'll turn that around for you if you win.
No, you betcha. You betcha. We'll take that bet. Look at you. You just became a bookie. And I know how much you love gambling.
Yeah. Well, I think I like taking other people's free money more than I like gambling, though. So I think this is kind of different.
So you don't like gambling. You just like being the casino.
Right.
Okay. All right. I think I got it now.
Yeah. I felt like we weren't hard enough on some of these teams.
Like which ones?
I know.
What did we go soft on?
You didn't crap on the Rams enough or the 49ers for my liking.
Well, look, I think once again, I do believe in the Stafford piece, but I do think that, that defense, I am not a believer for 2 years in a row with all of the losses. There's just no way. I do believe that the Rams will be the third place team in the NFC West.
Okay.
Which might still get you into the playoffs this year.
That's true.
With the updated format.
That's true. I
think the 49ers have a pretty solid roster.
So you do think the Rams are overrated then? For them to be the third favorite team for the conference winner, and they have twice the odds that the Seahawks do as conference winner. Plus,
that's
plus
totally
590 for the Rams, plus 1,100 for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's completely and totally overrated. Okay. There's no doubt about that. If you were to ask me the odds of winning the Super Bowl this year between the Seahawks and the Rams, Seahawks slightly better odds.
Okay.
But they're close-ish.
Well, you know what? We're going to get into them more anyway when we get into our Know Your Rival series.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not blowing my load today on this. If you want, look, I can make this real simple.
Catfish
the Rams,
catfish
their entire fan base,
catfish
LA, and just
catfish
their colors,
catfish
their uniforms,
catfish
Cronky, just
catfish
them all. How's that?
That reminds me, what do you think of the MFer gate with Tom Brady?
Oh, when he said that was the thing where he said something about they're sticking with that guy, that MFer. Yeah.
They're trying to figure out who Tom Brady was talking about. Who was the MFer that Tom Brady was referring to?
It could have been any one of 31 starting quarterbacks, because I guarantee you one thing, Brandon.
Yeah, it wasn't Drew Brees. It wouldn't be all 31.
Oh, it could have been all 31, because I guarantee you one thing, Brandon. Tom Brady believes that he is the greatest quarterback to ever quarterback and will forever quarterback.
That's true.
And so anybody who's not Tom Brady, you're sticking with that MFer instead of taking me. That's how I believe he thinks.
I think it was that there was so much emphasis on the word that. Like, you're sticking with that?
Okay.
And not, just as a turn of phrase as that's how he refers to the other quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, who is that boiled down to possibly being, right? Drew Brees.
Oh, no, of places where he could have gone, but didn't go.
Right.
It could have been the 49ers.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Could have been
Chargers,
Broncos,
Colts,
Titans. Did he want to go to the Titans?
Yeah, that was floated out there. So I would say,
oh yeah, because he was looking at school, or like his kids were going to school in that area, right?
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I think Tannehill could definitely be one of the candidates. Jimmy G would be the guy at the top of the list for me. He hates that guy.
Yeah.
If I had to bet money on it, I definitely would put my money on Jimmy G, because I don't think he would have said that about Rivers because they hadn't signed him yet.
Right.
Maybe it was Brissett. Like he didn't sign with the Colts and they hadn't signed Rivers yet. And he's like,
yeah, maybe. Miami was the other one I was thinking, potentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Tua's not good.
Well, good. I'm glad we cleared that up. Probably Jimmy G.
Look, yeah, absolutely Jimmy G, that MFer.
Let's get to the second half of the show.
I got to say, coming back into the second half of the show here, Brandon, I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't music in the middle of the break that was like a 90s rap song that had like a chorus that was like Uzi in a Lambo.
Oh, I thought you were going to go like with Naughty by Nature.
Oh, no, this would need to be a
1, 2, 3 by
original,
Naughty by Nature. It has the MFer in it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have worked. No, I just going to the second half of the show here. I feel like the story we wanted to kind of lead off with sounds like a chorus to a 90s rap song.
Frank Clark arrested on suspicion of having a concealed firearm in the vehicle. And this was a little bit weird to me because reading that headline.
No, you screwed it up. Frank Clark was arrested for having an Uzi in a Lambo.
A Lambo SUV.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even worse. Why? That's like buying that Porsche SUV. You get the worst performing Porsche to do Porsche things, and then you get the worst SUV to do SUV things, and then overpay by like, $100,000. And I didn't even know Lambo made an SUV. That's like got to be the third worst vehicle ever made.
You should check out, there's a YouTube video of not the newer Lambo SUV, but like their first run at making a Lambo SUV. And the guy gets in the rig, and where they have the keys positioned, it was old enough to where you actually had to have a key to start the vehicle. But you had to like come up under the steering wheel, and like there was just enough room to fit the key in between the steering wheel into the keyhole. It's like they put it in the worst possible position.
Super comfortable for your everyday driver, no doubt about it.
Yeah. It did have pretty sweet bucket seats in the back, though.
You don't want bucket seats in the back. You want a bench seat.
You had to have bucket seats because the middle seat was where the subwoofer went.
There you go. Here are the type of priorities you see from the SUV manufacturer, apparently Lamborghini. And Frank Clark, I was going to bash him for having poor judgment, having an Uzi in a Lambo. But now I know that he has yet another example of poor judgment, buying a Lambo SUV.
There are some problems, though, that I have with this story that I want to get to. I was reading in The Guardian, and it may have just been the way that the reporter is writing up this story.
Well, they're sensationally as well.
There's some of that here, too, but this is the line that jumped out at me. Officers noted a bag with an Uzi sticking out in plain sight in the car.
Yeah.
Clark was then arrested on suspicion of having a concealed firearm in the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Was it concealed or was it in plain sight? Which one of the two?
Well, here's where Frank Clark shows poor judgment, because apparently this is not the first time he's been pulled over and cops have seen a gun sticking out of a bag. Now, look, if it was the first time, I might go with you here and be like, how can it be concealed? It was in plain sight. But you do it twice? I think he's just crap at concealing things. I think he's just terrible at it. I think he was probably trying to conceal it, was like, oh, can't be bothered with the catfish zipper, I guess. And now he's going to have to sit out another season, probably pay a hefty fine, maybe even do some jail time. Freaking idiot.
You know what, though? I was looking at some of the California gun laws, and it said that if it is, in fact, an Uzi, which we can get into that too, but if it is classified as a submachine gun, you aren't allowed to conceal it. And if you're traveling with it, you're supposed to have it out in plain sight.
Yes, that's all true. That's all true. But
so then how do you get arrested for it is the other question. If that's what they're saying, that you had it concealed when you had it out in sight enough for an officer to see it. That's weird to me.
I have a number of firearms, Brandon. I do. I like guns. I enjoy shooting. They're good for my life out here.
Yeah.
Protects me against the mean bears and the mountain lions. I like that. You know what I don't do? Drive around with them in California.
Sure. If you're not in California is the other thing.
And I don't take a firearm to California because they're crazy about that stuff there.
Yeah, you have to know your...
And you know what the last weapon I would take with me in my car to California? A catfishing Uzi.
Here's the other thing that I wonder about the sensationalism aspect of it. You know that I'm not a huge gun guy, but I was in the military. I know enough about guns.
And one of my favorite stories I've ever heard you tell was you shooting the 50 cal from the deck. I've never seen you smile like that before in my life.
So much fun.
Oh, yeah.
But
so I think you're a bigger gun guy than you give yourself
credit.
Okay,
well, yeah. And I know that sometimes things tend to get sensationalized, especially when it comes to guns. So maybe it's an Uzi, but maybe it's a 22 with an extended clip that's designed to look like an Uzi.
A 10-22 with an extended clip looks nothing like a freaking Uzi.
You would think that the police would know enough to say that, well, that's not an Uzi, that's a 22.
And if it's truly an Uzi, it's fully auto. I mean, you got to go through so much rigmarole and get stamps.
I doubt it's a real Uzi.
They exist.
Oh, yeah.
I've shot one. I would never try to buy one.
And if you do have bad enough judgment to buy a Lamborghini SUV, then maybe you have bad enough judgment to take a real Uzi with you and have it sticking out of a bag. See, this could be a problem for Frank.
And what does Frank Clark, did he get enough in his contract extension to buy a freaking gun rack? Like, if you really want to make sure you have it out in plain sight, put it in the back window. Nobody will tailgate you.
How does he not have his bodyguard with him to whom the gun allegedly belonged to?
Maybe he was taking it back to him. I don't know. The whole story is just poor judgment. And look, I'm sure he's getting railroaded a little bit more than maybe he ought to be here because California.
I'm still sticking with my original premise that it's suspicious to me that he was arrested for having a concealed weapon when officers, quote unquote, noticed a bag with an Uzi sticking out. That just doesn't seem like a concealed charge to me.
I am sticking to my guns here in saying that Frank Clark is a terrible concealer.
What do you say we welcome some new members of the flock?
Yeah, that sounds good. That's probably better.
First, a big thanks to our executive producers, DCH, Dustin Mock, and Brian Shaw.
Yeah, the men, the myths, the legends,
All
three
legends.
of them. Yeah, that's harder to say plural.
Yeah. How would you do that? The men, the myths, and the
just how I did it. I nailed it.
It sounded
it just
weird.
Took a second. Yeah, didn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, when I heard it, it didn't sound right. But now I think about it.
It's because it probably was clunky. But whatever, they're awesome.
They're awesome, and we have some new members of the flock at getintheflock.com, starting with Bedelia Rodriguez, who came in at $1 a month.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate it, Adelia.
Bedelia.
But did I screw it up?
I don't know. I thought you said Adelia.
Isn't that what it was?
No, it's Bedelia.
Bedelia?
Yeah.
Whatever. But Rodriguez, good work.
Matt Abeda in at $12.12 a month. So welcome to the flock to Matt.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Matt. Looking forward to seeing you in the Ring of Honor. Going to be one of those. Well, I guess all the little flockers are going to have the opportunity for tickets first to the Titans game. Yeah. Don't have to be Ring of Honor, folks.
No, I do have a tentative list of the Ring of Honor folks who have said that they want to come. So I did put them down first. But there will be tickets available for the rest of the flock.
Oh, so all of you who are not in the Ring of Honor who just felt exclusive a minute ago, you're not quite as exclusive as you thought you were.
No.
Because the Ring of Honor people already reached out to. You're second tier exclusive.
Ring of Honor got number one exclusivity. I talked to them first.
Right.
And then it's going to go out to the rest of the flock this week.
Okay.
But all the tickets are still available. I haven't sold any tickets yet.
Oh, so you're hoarding.
Yeah.
Nice.
And by hoarding, it means I haven't paid them yet. I have
Right.
I still have one payment left to make to the team.
Understood.
All right. Well, those are our new members of the flock. We didn't get skunked.
Look, if it's July and there's no skunking, that's a gigantic win. That's like getting 500 new flockers in the middle of the season.
It's great.
Or after the Super Bowl win this year.
Yeah. And Matt came in just in time. Like he was probably refreshing the feed and going, man, I want to know when there's a new show. And now by getting into the Ring of Honor, he'll know when that stuff is about to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get the DL.
Yeah. Congratulations to our winner of tiny pieces of Seahawks stuff for the month of June, Scott Larson. I asked Siri which number to pick. It was number 12. Siri nailed it. And Scott Larson was the winner.
Yeah, that's a treasure right there. Congratulations, Scott.
It is a treasure. It's cool. It is.
Yeah,
he was good for a little while.
Yeah.
Why you're crapping on this prize harder than you did on the Rams?
Well, that's again. I'm saving some. And I thought I gave you a pretty good crap fest on the Rams at the end of the first half
once
of the
I
show.
called for it.
Well, sometimes I need to be prodded, okay? Like, I'm not always angry. You notice how I started this podcast, like, pretty chill, and now I'm pissed?
You're way too chill for this show.
It's too hot to be pissed, dude. I can't do it. Can't even muster it.
Well, for the month of July, we have a Russell Wilson Pro Bowl Elite. We're going back to our quarterback and got a nice little blue tiny piece of Seahawks stuff in with Russell Wilson card.
Going out on a limb, but I'm going to guess that whoever ends up with that, a little more excited than maybe if you got a Christine Michael mini helmet.
You know what? I'll throw in, I'm going to throw in a Russell Wilson tiny piece of Seahawks stuff with the helmet just to make you happy.
This wasn't about me. This was never about me. And Scott, you're welcome. I knew this is how this would go. And I did it all for you, buddy. And enjoy the real prize now that you're getting and the other thing.
Getintheflock.com if you want to become a member of the flock. And
hear more of this.
And hear more of this. All right. You know what? I didn't get a lot of email here this last week.
No way.
Yeah.
Nobody else is interested in nothing going on either?
There's not even really any questions. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's talk a little more throwback.
Yeah.
The Seahawks can't screw this up, right?
Oh, I mean, it's in in range. It could happen. But I mean, really, as long as they go silver helmet, and they get rid of most of or all the action green, there's no loss here, right? Like, it's a total win.
Do you think that they'll get rid of the action green or the wolf gray?
I would say definitely the action green, because the wolf gray is close enough to silver to pass off, whereas the action green does not match the old green at all.
I think that they would get rid of the grays.
You can't pass that
because
off.
you have the gray. Maybe they don't need to get rid of either of them, because you could just wear the... No, you'd still have to do the different tops because they would be designed differently up top. But you could still wear the gray pants that the wolf gray is. That gray is probably close enough to the old gray.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Are we agreeing then? I don't know. Do they have to get rid of any uniforms?
Well, no, I'm not saying to get rid of it for the regular unis at all. I'm just saying for the throwback version, which they invent coming up and going to drop for you soon, so that you're happy and not upset about it anymore.
Yeah.
You get rid of the action green and you go silver helmets, and then the rest I can give you a lot of leeway, you know?
I don't know if I want to get rid of the action green.
Well, I do, and I'm real excited to see that go. And you know what's better? What's better than anything is that there's a strong chance the throwbacks take the place of the Color Rush action green monstrosity, the murder of your eyeballs that they wear once a year or twice a year. Those can go away forever.
I saw Bobby Wagner lobbying for all black.
No, black's not one of our colors. I don't like it when teams go with an all black when that's not a major part of their color scheme to begin with. Like, for example, I was listening to Kevin Durant talk the other day, and he went to a game where Chris Paul, when he was still at Wake Forest, played University of Texas, where Durant was going next year in the tournament, and Texas got wiped. And he's like, they brought out the all blacks for that game. It's the first time ever in Texas history. It was the last time ever in Texas history. And I think that's smart because black is not a part of the University of Texas color scheme.
Yeah, I suppose it outlines some things.
Yeah, it was like when the Cardinals do the whole black thing. It's like, dude, you got like the tiniest bit of black ever in your logo. And like now that's one of your main colors. Boo.
The Cardinals have an all black. The 49ers have their all black uniforms.
One doesn't make sense either. See, and look, do we hate those teams when they wear the all black?
I don't know. I hate them anyway. So I know
the
jersey color doesn't matter to me.
They wear the all black too, right?
Oh yeah.
Like two of the most hated teams in your life have gone with the all black. Why would you want to follow suit with them? Screw those guys.
Hate the Steelers. Hate the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't much care for the Ravens.
Falcons. You hate them. That might be one of your most hated teams.
The passion of 1,000 burning suns. I hate them.
There you go. You are prejudiced against black jerseys.
Absolutely. I am definitely black jersey racist.
That's not racist.
I was getting ahead of it, you know? Like I figured if I admitted it first.
If you call it out, then
yeah. And instead of being like, because I know a lot of people, they'll preface saying something racist with, well, maybe this is racist, but so instead I went the other way. I was like,
you're just going to own
racist.
It.
Exactly. I was clear about this.
All right. I think it's time to move on to do better and better at life.
You've had enough uniform racist talk?
Yeah. I think that was about as...
Okay, cool. Now we know where the line is. Now we know.
We definitely got there.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go with your do better first then to cleanse everybody's palate?
Maybe.
Okay.
My do better this week is for Josh Barrow of the Business Insider, because Josh decided to write an article titled "Admit It, Grilling Food is Bad." And
what?
Yeah, he was making the case.
Was he confused? Did he think grilling food mean like hitting a deer with your car?
No. This is actually putting food on the grill to cook it and saying that it's bad. Because if you're going into the 4th of July weekend, you know that there's no bigger time for a look at me moment than saying that grilling food is bad. And so Josh wanted to make sure and step right to the front of the line and say, look at me. I'm saying the opposite of what everybody else is going to be doing this weekend.
I guarantee you that this guy drove his Lambo SUV to the restaurant to eat his pan-fried steak for 4th of July.
Yeah. So that was his first mistake. His second mistake, the only true negative that he even brought to the table with this article, is that he claims that people don't clean their grill well enough, that, you heat it up.
That's part of the charm.
That's right. But he's saying that, well, you wouldn't throw a steak in a dirty pan inside and then cook it with the old bits of food stuck to it. Like, that's gross.
Oh, this guy don't know me. Because I absolutely do that. Because the heat kills all the nasty. You're fine.
Yes, he brought that up in the article. So I got the sense from this article that he's a bit of a food snob with that being his first argument, as far as, well, people don't clean their grill enough. The other two arguments that he brought to this they're minor annoyances. One, he didn't like the heating element under the food because the grease catches fire when it drips off the food into the grill.
Once again, half the fun.
It's part of the charm of it.
It's exciting.
And it's annoying. But, I mean, when it's 90 degrees outside, are you really going to go inside your house and turn on the broiler in the oven just to cook your steak and to have the heat come from above? No.
Absolutely not.
Not cooking inside with the broiler when it's hot out.
No, what are you, a communist? No.
Probably. The other reason he says that your grill has poor temperature control. Okay.
I don't know. There's a thermostat on it. I can usually keep it somewhere in, thermostat range.
What do you need to have your oven to where it's perfectly at 450 degrees? Like, who does that?
Yeah, you cook a hot dog on hot. Not at any particular temperature. It's just hot. Make the hot dog hot. I don't need precise temperature control. I don't need my brat to come off the grill at precisely, 103.6 degrees in the middle.
And if it's coming off at 103 degrees, that's you haven't cooked it enough. It's not done.
Well, it depends on the brat.
No, you have to go to at least 130 to cook it on the inside.
I like them, medium rare.
You like to play dangerously when it comes to your meat temperatures. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what Josh has to say. And, for me to Josh, if you're such a genius that you feel like you have to come out and say people are morons for cooking outside, then come up with some superior outdoor cooking technology. So then you can make money the right way by developing something we'd all rather use rather than writing up something for a look at me moment going into summer's biggest holiday. To Josh Barrow of Business Insider, do better.
He probably invented the solar oven that never really gained traction and is just salty.
Yeah.
Or
poor
he's just
control.
a man who's terrible at grilling and is just ashamed at that poor man skill that he just can't grill. And look, I'll be the first to admit I'm a terrible griller.
Yeah.
I can't grill for the life of me, but I don't hate grilling because of it. I just know I'm bad at it.
Yeah, you have somebody else do it and you eat their good food.
That's exactly right. It's all fine. I don't get butthurt about it and demand that everybody sweat their balls off inside on the 4th of July and eat their freaking Spam cooked on, in the oven.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how cookouts are at the Barrow household. Hey, everybody, you go. I'll have fun outside. I'll be inside cooking everybody's dinner for tonight so it can be perfect. Spaghetti. I just gotta pan sear these burgers and then put them in the oven just so they get to the perfect temperature, and then I'll be right out.
I'll be right out to join the pool party and have a beer. Moron.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Get outside
better,
with everybody else, Josh.
Yeah.
Figure out how to work your grill or let somebody who knows what they're doing do it.
There you go. Exactly. That's what I do. I just let go of the wheel. I can't grill worth a crap, but I have a Fred.
Yeah.
Our buddy Fred. amazing griller. Like, I mean, the best food I've ever had in my life is at Fred's house.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I let Fred drive. He tells me to bring rolls.
I'm good enough to do it if nobody else can. Like, I can do it. But
I can make something almost edible if I had to.
Oh, no, I'm better than that. Like, I would be the midpoint between you and Fred, I think.
Yeah. And then I also have a Brittany, and she's amazing at the cooking.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, I don't have to worry about anything either. I used to eat at the town pump all the time, which is a gas station. Then Brittany came along, and now I have real meals in my life again. Well, really, for the first time ever. My mom couldn't cook for crap either. Should be the first to say it. She has like vinyl letters in her kitchen, and it's like 3 types of meals are cooked here: frozen, takeout, delivery. Like that's what she does.
That is why I never had a meal at your house. I don't think I ever, except for maybe having cereal in the morning.
Nope. Yeah, we ate a lot of fast food growing up.
Yeah. Huh. Never really thought about that.
And the few times she cooked, it was usually the Campbell's Soup cookbook that things were.
Oh, there you go. SpaghettiOs.
Yep.
Just heat up a can of chili.
Yeah. I got some stuff from Schwann's. Put it in the microwave.
It's not how your mom talks.
That's exactly how she talks.
Who you got for Do Better?
All right. My Do Better this week is also 4th of July related. My Do Better is for anybody who lives west of the Mississippi that torches off a freaking firework this year.
Catfish!
You are a fucking moron. Everything is dry, and it's all going to burn to the ground, and then we will be dead. No fireworks this year. You don't need it. Watch it on TV. It's not a big deal. Like, just let it go. Everything is a tinderbox. Don't like the fireworks this year. Do better.
Now, if you lived in the city, you'd be around people that actually water their lawns, and you would know that, in the city limits, it's probably fine. All the grass is green.
That's cute. You think people this year are watering their lawns?
Yeah.
That was done months ago because they were watering their lawns for the past 10 freaking years, and now they have no water. And now none of us have any water.
I knew I could get you riled up a little more. See, you said it was too hot to get upset. Now here you are. Look at you.
Yeah, I had to dig deep for it.
On to Better at Life. My Better at Life this week, I'm giving it to Carl Nassib, becoming the first active player. Yeah, see, this happened since last time we talked.
Yeah.
Became the first active player to come out. And if you listen to any NFL podcasts, I'm sure you heard about it, how he's donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project, which focuses on suicide prevention efforts for LGBTQ kids. The NFL matched that donation, so they're getting all the pub. They're getting matching donations. And there was one quote, though, that I thought deserved more attention than it really got, because obviously his statement that he put on Instagram was the audio that everybody heard, but he put a couple of messages in his Instagram post too. And the one quote, because I felt like the common reaction to this, and maybe part of the reason why we don't see, or why it's kind of taken, I guess, a while for someone to, Michael Sam came out going into the draft, but we haven't had an active player do it. And I thought that the common reaction from the announcement was, okay, so?
Yeah.
And I think that he addressed that to a point, because he said, I actually hope one day videos like this and the whole coming out process is just not necessary. And I think for that to happen, he recognized, though, that somebody had to be the first. So he said he wasn't a real look at me type guy, but he felt comfortable enough to do it. And I think the real reason it was in one of the Instagram statements that he made. And it said, I feel an immense responsibility to help in any way I can. And you can too. Studies have shown that all it takes is one accepting adult to decrease the risk of an LGBTQ kid attempting suicide by 40%. Whether you're a friend, a parent, a coach, or a teammate, you can be that person. And so for Carl Nassib, putting that out there, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, look, I had that same reaction. So I do think that the meat of this story, and what is really cool, is him taking the time to really try to inspire people to, help end suicides in the LGBTQ community, right?
Yeah.
And really, on top of all of that, put his money where his mouth is. I think that's the extraordinary part of this story, and just cool all around. Not that it was not a big deal for him to come out. I mean, obviously, but I would like to think that that's where we should end up. I would hope, just like he said.
Yeah, it goes to show you how far it's come that, for people who are, I don't know, high school, early college age, they think of, why is there a need for even an announcement? Like, it feels like this was, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, I just think of like some athletes holding press conferences because they were suspected of being gay and they had to come out and say in the press conference that they weren't. Like, that's
right.
where we were 20 years ago. And
yeah. No, it seems like it's progressed a long ways. It's funny because, if I were to have mentioned this story to my daughter, her reaction would have been, about freaking time. Like, really took this long? Like, geez, you backwards people.
Yeah.
Like, get it together. Do better.
There we go.
That probably would have been what she said.
Probably.
Yeah. Good on him all the way around. A class act in the way that he did it. And then also by actually inspiring some more change and to help people.
Oh, and the response too. Like within the next couple days, his jersey became the top selling jersey at Fanatics.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
I betcha.
People support.
Does he get a cut of that?
Hopefully he gets a cut of that.
Carl Nassib keep getting them checks.
Oh, he's got to get a cut of it because, like with
they're
the whole,
using his name.
They're using his name, the likeness rights, right? And that was the whole thing with college these past couple weeks is that college players can use their likeness rights now.
Yeah, exactly.
About
we
time.
Figure out the next step for the podcast is how to sell our likeness. I think this is right around the corner. People will be buying things with our faces and names on it any day now. This is happening.
I think we've always had likeness rights to our own likeness. So you can say that it is an excuse for it not having happened yet. But
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I don't think anything has changed for you and me.
It's not about our popularity, Brandon. Come on.
It's definitely about our popularity.
All right. Well, I think with that,
you got to give me a better at life.
Oh, did I not? Oh, yeah. Okay. What was my better at life?
You're better at life. And we are going to thank we're going to close this out too by thanking our $12 members and above.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I forgot it was the first of the month.
But I think you are going to talk about Kabir Singh from America's Got Talent.
Yeah. And he's on there, right?
You don't even watch. Okay, let me break this down. Adam said, I don't have a better at life this week. I said, oh, hey, I talked to Sam Marcoux, Dolphins fan, who hosts the Perfectville podcast. And it was Kabir and there's probably some people listening to this show that went to Sam's performance at Comedy Underground before the Miami Dolphins game that was in Seattle a few years back. It was Kabir Singh who headlined that show and is now on America's Got Talent. And Sam says he's kicking butt.
And he's a big Seahawks fan. Okay. It was too hot to come up with a better at life. And I got my way. I got you to do it for me. And for that, I think I'm better at life as well. So Kabir and me, better at life.
You and Kabir, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
All right. Let's close out the show by thanking everybody at $12 and above, Adam.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Annalisa Mickelson, a.k.a. Mrs. Doug Baldwin, New York, New York, undergrad, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, graduate school, Brooklyn College.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
Hong Kong! Hong Kong! Hong Kong!
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas, Yale University, And Sam Houston State, eat 'em up cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Kevin Stengen, Keene, Texas.
Vincent Parker, Emily Carr, University of Art Design, RN Collective.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jesse, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Rennes, France.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, a.k.a. Lock It and Put It in Your Pocket, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the roads. Go Hawks.
And you heard him near the top of the roll call there, but a big thanks to executive producer DCH, and a big thanks to our other executive producers Dustin Mock and Brian Shaw. Moving on to my list here, starting with Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Ross in Eureka, California, Craig in Camas, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, James in Linwood, Roe in Federal Way, Jared in Missoula, Hector in Issaquah, Young in Anchorage, Rebecca in Manhattan Beach, California, Tim in Austin, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Kathy in Eureka, California, Christian in Oslo, Norway, Joshua in Seven Oaks, England, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, Jeremy in Garabo, Puerto Rico, JC in Horsford, England, Eric in Auburn, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, James in Beaux Arts, Jake in Seattle, Keegan in Colorado Springs, Chris in Spokane, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Missouri, Kari in Rochester, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Eric in Seattle, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Taylor in South Cleellum, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Dean in the Greater Hawkdom, Kevin in Sammamish, John O. in Norfolk, Nebraska, Crystal in Oldsmar, Florida, John C. in the Greater Hawkdom, John W. in New York, Shoko in New York, Scott in Bakersfield, California, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Greg in Seattle, Jeremy in Federal Way, Ben in Wrexham, Wales, Joshua in Candor, New York, Kenneth in Hutto, Texas, Mark in Bexley Heath, England, Mario in Seattle, Seth in Tacoma, Jay in the Greater Hawkdom, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, Anders in Violet, Denmark, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Jack in Summersham, England, Chris in Austin, Jose in Chicago, Ivy in Renton, Marcus in Potts Point, Australia, Amy in Squim, Aaron in North Las Vegas, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Preston in Phoenix, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Joseph in Vancouver, Corey in Vancouver, Taylor in Spokane, Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Kyle in the Greater Hawkdom, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Jason in Panama City, Florida, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, John in Honolulu, Chad in Lexington Park, Maryland, Bridget in Redmond, JC in University Place, Ryan in Crestview, Florida, Chris in Billings, Montana, DJ in Menifee, California, Terrence in Seattle, Daniel in Post Falls, Idaho, Tucker in Camas, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Jalen in Minneapolis, Kansas, Jamie in Oswestry, England, Mike in the Greater Hawkdom, Ian in Seattle, Eric in Kalispell, Montana, John F. in Toano, Virginia, Kayla in Vancouver, Tanner in Kalispell, Montana, Terrell in Atlanta, Ryan in Fairbanks, Alaska, Nate in Solna, Sweden, and finally our newest member of the flock, Matt in the Greater Hawkdom. A big thanks to everybody at 12 and above. I'm carrying the load. I got all better at life. Adam's taking the credit of being better at life for making me do his better at life.
Yeah.
This has been one heck of a show.
It surely has. I'm winning, and it feels really good. Everybody stay safe this 4th of July. Keep your fingers.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. It's hot.